Good afternoon, and thanks for attending today's webinar on transitioning to retirement with an income stream. We'll give everyone a few moments to join the webinar and we'll commence shortly. My name is Christine Howard, and I'm a member account specialist with Brighter Super. My main role, the main part of my role is to guide our valued members towards a comfortable retirement by giving them a better understanding of what they can do with their superannuation. By the end of the webinar, we'll aim to give you some tools to get you on track for an ideal retirement. I'll be asking you some questions as we go through the webinar to help you get a better understanding of the content. So Brighter Super acknowledges the traditional owners of lands we meet on today, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. We are proud to serve Queensland's 17 Indigenous councils, and we strive to provide positive outcomes for our members who identify as Aboriginal and/or Torres Strait Islanders. This presentation provides general information and advice only. It has been prepared without taking into account your individual objectives, financial situation or needs, and you must not rely on this information alone as a sole or primary source of advice or guidance for the purpose of making decisions about your superannuation options. If you wish to make any changes to your superannuation, you should obtain a copy of and consider the relevant product disclosure statement, the PDS, and target market determination, the TMD, and seek financial advice before making any decisions. Today's presentation will run for about 45 minutes, and many of you have submitted questions already, which we have tried to incorporate into the presentation. You can also post questions in the question and answer feature during our presentation today, which we'll aim to answer directly. We have today with us Greg. He's going to be moderating today. And just in regards to that, Greg's been with the fund he's been with us for a little while, less than a year, but he's been in the superannuation industry for over 15 years. Like me, regularly out in the field providing super health checks to members in different regions all across Queensland. So I'd just like to introduce Greg just to come online now.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Really looking forward to answering your questions that you may have. Just a reminder to submit your questions through the Q&A feature on your screen at any point during the presentation. So, yeah, really looking forward to jumping into today's presentation, and I'll hand back to Chris.
Thanks, Greg. We'll look forward to your questions at the end, answering those. We should also have time for questions at the end, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. I'm also joined today by one of our financial advisors. Aaron's here, and he'll be presenting a little bit later on, and I'll introduce him then. We will be running some poll questions throughout today's presentation. When the questions pop up on your screen, please just click and answer what is the answer that is most appropriate to you. Thank you. So before we move on to our main subject, I would like to take the opportunity to briefly explain who we are, as we have, some non-members joining us today. So the merger between LGIA Super and Energy Super, plus the acquisition of Suncorp Super, has enabled us to increase our size and scale. Yet we remain committed to investing in the personalised member services that you know and enjoy. We serve over 285,000 members with more than 34 billion in funds under management, and we receive double-digit returns for the balanced accumulation and balanced pension options in the full year to 2024. Now, let's talk about retirement planning. One of the most common questions around retirement planning is how much you may need in retirement. If you're not sure how much you may need, the ASFA Retirement Standards is one guide to start with. The Association of Super Funds Australia, which is ASFA, regularly surveys retirees who have paid off the mortgage and are aged over 65 and asks them what they are spending money on. From that research, they've identified two types of lifestyle in retirement, modest and comfortable. And for retirees, a modest lifestyle is probably going to be fairly conservative. And based on ASFA's research, they've defined a modest lifestyle, which may include the following: takeaway and occasional cheap restaurants, infrequent domestic short breaks, basic private health insurance, owning a cheaper, more basic car. It's unlikely there would be, money to travel overseas, and social activities will be a little bit closer to home. Take a minute to think about how much you're currently spending on your own lifestyle and how it compares to the above. These figures are updated quarterly. So what does, a comfortable lifestyle look like for you? And in those stats there, we're looking at single, 32,930, and a couple, 47,475. So most members that I assist are looking forward to a lifestyle with a few options. Based on ASFA's research, they've defined a comfortable lifestyle, which may include the following: annual domestic and occasional overseas travel, say once every 7 years, social activities including eating out 2 to 3 times per week, maintaining a vehicle and home, mid-level private medical insurance. Again, take a moment to think about what type of retirement lifestyle you are aiming for. Remember, it's not always about how much money you have, it's how you manage it, and which is why early action is vital. The good news is you can choose to retire whenever it suits you. However, there are rules as to when you may access your superannuation. To access your super, you must have reached what's called your preservation age, which is between 50 and 60, depending on your date of birth. We'll take a closer look at this shortly. You can usually access your super as a lump sum, as a pension, or as a combination of these when you permanently retire after reaching your preservation age, reach the age of 60 and then stop working or change jobs, or turn 65, whether you're working or not. The amount of tax you pay depends on your age and at the time you withdraw money from your super. The type of contributions paid in, pre or post-tax, the amount being paid out, and whether you are taking it as a lump sum or a pension. Now, our first poll question is coming up. Do you know your preservation age? Interesting. Maybe 71% that answered know what their preservation age, but still a large proportion, 30%, not aware of what that is. So let's just have a look at that a little bit closer. In our next slide, we'll cover that off. So generally, your super is tax-free when paid to you after you turn 60. Let's have a look at when you may be able to access your super. So this is looking at your preservation age. So referring back to the poll question, the information on your screen is called your preservation age, and it's set by the Australian government, and it's based on your date of birth. So take a moment to confirm yours. Remember, there are two parts to accessing your super. Firstly, you must have reached your preservation age, which is between 55 to 60. And secondly, you need to have met a condition of release. So let's take a closer look at these. As super is primarily designed to give you income in retirement, there are specific rules relating to when you can access your super. So 1, permanent retirement, you've finished work and you don't intend to return to work in the future. 2, you cease employment on or after turning 60. You can access your funds from 60 onwards if you leave your employer and, say, for example, go to another job, full-time, part-time or casual, etc. 3, turning 65. Upon your 65th birthday, you've got full access to your super regardless if you're working or not. So please note, however, that this does not apply to defined benefit accounts. Now, once you've reached your preservation age, you also have the option of setting up what's called a transition to retirement income stream. However, if you have a defined benefit account, it's worth having a chat to us as conditions may apply. This allows you to use your super to supplement your income, reduce the amount you work, or as a tax minimisation strategy. We will go into this more later. So how much tax are you likely to pay? There are 2 main tax components within your super, taxable and tax-free. Withdrawals from your super come out of these tax components proportionately. The tax-free component is always tax-free, as tax is always being paid. The taxable component may be taxed and depends on your age when you make the withdrawal. If you take out a lump sum payment between your preservation age and 59, it is tax-free for the first $245,000. With amounts over $245,000 taxed at 17%, which includes the Medicare levy. If you choose to open an income stream known as a pension account between your preservation age and age 59, then regular payments are taxed at your marginal tax rate with a 15% tax offset. Now, once you reach the age of 60, withdrawals from both components are tax-free. It's important to note that both the tax and tax-free components still exist when over 60, and there can be potential tax impacts on your death benefit regardless of your age. When in an accumulation stage and in a transition to retirement pension product, investment earnings can be taxed up to 15%. When you open an income stream pension account, tax on your investment earnings are tax-free. It can get quite complex, which is why it's often a good idea to seek financial advice before proceeding to make sure that this is right for you. So what is a transition to retirement? So just get it there. So the transition to retirement, how does that work? It's an income stream product within Brighter Super and are called pension accounts, designed to give you an income in retirement. So let's have a look at the transition to retirement pension account, also known as a TTR, and how it works in more detail. So as you are still working, your employer continues to put money into your accumulation account. Members can open a TTR, transition to retirement pension account, when they have met their preservation age, but not met a full condition of release. By doing this, it is important to remember that if you are below the age of 60, there may be tax payable on the income you receive. Many members choose to set up a TTR once they reach 60, as income from super is tax-free. A transition to retirement pension account can supplement your income, leading to a retirement or help you reduce the amount of tax you pay while increasing your retirement savings. You could use a transition to retirement pension account to one, for example, work less. The TTR could help you cut back on your work hours or take a lower paying job. You can receive regular pension payments to supplement the income you have lost by working less. The other option too, reduce your tax and increase your super. If you're age 60 or over, you can receive tax-free income from a transition to retirement pension account. At the same time, you can salary sacrifice some of your salary into your accumulation account, subject to concessional contribution caps, where it will be taxed at 15% on entry to the fund. So you could effectively pay 15% tax on the portion of your salary that you contribute to super rather than the tax rate you currently pay when you receive this money as salary. This strategy can also be used if you have reached preservation age but are still under the age of 60, though some tax may be payable on your pension income. 3, you can reduce debt by receiving additional income from a transition to retirement without changing jobs or increasing your work hours. Or 4, estate planning. A TTR can assist with future estate planning needs. And remember, if you decide to access your super prior to retirement, you need to consider the impact this may have on your future superannuation balance and retirement lifestyles. We recommend talking to a financial advisor to ensure that this meets your personal objectives, both now and in the future. Let's have a look at how to set up a TTR pension account. So to start with, you need a minimum of $20,000 to start a Brighter Super TTR pension account. Secondly, you can choose from a range of investment options ranging from low to high risk. These are single, and there are also single asset classes and diversified investment options. Next, you decide how you'd like to receive your income. It's currently a minimum of 4% and a maximum of 10% of your TTR account balance, recalculated each year on the 1st of July. Payments can be made fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually based on your needs. If you are still working and your employer is still making contributions on your behalf, you may be required to retain your accumulation account. If you are retaining your accumulation account, you must leave the required minimum balance in your accumulation account, which is currently $8,000. So let's look at an example. This is Tom. Tom is 60 and he's been working for around 38 years and is looking to ease his way into retirement. He has spoken to his employer and is planning on reducing his working hours to 3 days per week. He does need to maintain a similar level of income that he is currently receiving. So in option A, he does not commence a TTR, but he continues to work full-time, receiving an annual income of $70,000 per year before tax. In option B, after receiving scaled personal advice, he decides to transfer $180,000 from his accumulation account into a transition to retirement pension account. He elects to draw down the maximum of 10% and have it paid as a fortnightly income. He now receives a gross income of $42,000 annually from his employer and an additional $18,000 from his super. The great news is that because Tom is over 60, the $18,000 from his super is paid tax-free. In this example, Tom would be able to maintain a similar level of income while also being able to reduce his working hours. If you are considering a retirement or a pension account, they may be an option for you. People retire at different ages for different reasons, and some leave, the paid workforce early due to ill health or because they have the money to do so, while others continue to work long after they can access their super. Once you've reached preservation age and met a condition of release, you've got the option to access your super as a lump sum, a pension, or a combination of these methods. So let's now have a look at how a pension account works in more detail. So if you would like a regular income and you want an investment that provides tax-free investment earnings, then the pension account gives you the flexibility to choose how much income you want and how often you would like to receive it. It is important to remember that a pension account may be used if you have met your preservation age, plus a condition of release, or you've turned 65 and still working. So let's go through some of the reasons members open a pension account. This could be a member who is fully retired and wishes now to receive a regular income from their super. This also allows members to access lump sums to pay down debt, renovations, or that holiday that they've always dreamed of. Alternatively, you could open a pension account and gone back into the workforce. In this scenario, you may wish to retain your pension account, which pays your regular income and has tax-free earnings. You can still use the extra income to assist you with your living expenses and continue to draw lump sums whilst you're also receiving a salary. And super guarantee payments from your employer also into an accumulation account. Members who have reached 65 and still working can also access a pension account to access tax-free regular income, lump sums, and enjoy the tax-free earnings on investments. To summarise, in the diagram, you can see you could be receiving income from both an employer and your pension account, along with the super guarantee contributions from your employer. It is also important to note that you can close a pension account and roll this back into your accumulation account should you not require the income from that pension account if your circumstances have changed. Like a transition to retirement product, if you're in a defined benefit, it can be a little bit more complex, so please have a chat to get us, some more information. So let's look at the process of setting up your pension account. So for many members, a superannuation income stream is a convenient and tax-effective way to access your money. Remember, you must have reached your preservation age and met a condition of release to access your super. So to set up a pension account, step 1, set up your pension account with a minimum of 20,000 with the current maximum transfer balance cap of 1.9 million as at the 1st of July 2024. Step 2, decide how you want to invest your pension. You can change your investment strategy at any time. Step 3, select the amount you wish to receive each year. The amount needs to meet or exceed the minimum drawdown amount, which is recalculated each year on the 1st of July. Step 4, select the frequency of your payments. You've got full access to your super once you've retired. If you move money into an income stream, you must take out a certain amount in each financial year. So let's have a look at the minimum amounts you need to withdraw per year. So you are required to withdraw a minimum amount each year, and this increases over time as you age. So the minimum depends on your age, and as you can see in this slide, for example, if a member was to establish an income stream with $100,000 at the age of 63, they must withdraw at least $4,000 each financial year. The minimum is recalculated each financial year on the balance on the 1st of July. Once established, a member may not add contributions under the federal government rules. Once meeting a condition of release, partial withdrawals may be made from an income stream at any time. Apart from the convenience of an income stream, there are also tax concessions that may apply. So let's recap the ways in which you can access your super when you're eligible. So there are 3 types of options when you're considering moving into retirement. 1, you can retain your current accumulation account. You've got investment options to choose from. You can make withdrawals and also contribute subject to contribution rules. There are tax concessions on preservation age prior to 60 and no tax on withdrawals after the age of 60. Investment earnings can be taxed up to 15%. With the TTR, access your super as an income stream while still working. You've got investment options to choose from, and you must withdraw a minimum of 4% up to a maximum of 10%. You cannot make lump sum withdrawals until you meet the full condition of release. Investment earnings are taxed up to 15%. The third option, pension. The pension account, upon meeting conditions of release, including preservation age, or after the age of 65, you can draw income as a pension account. A minimum withdrawal is required annually, which is based on your age, and there is no maximum. You are still able to withdraw lump sums amount and enjoy the tax-free investment earnings. You can choose which option or combination of options best suits your retirement. Personal advice can assist in helping your super last the distance, and Brighter Super offers personal advice services to members, and more details about this shortly. So for more information on transition to retirement and pension products, please visit our website. Under resources, you will find a section on forms and info sheets where there is more information on both transition to retirement pension accounts and considering retirement info sheets. You may also find other useful documents here too. Additionally, our product disclosure statement is a good place, to find further detail about pension accounts. Now, I'd like to hand over to one of our financial advisors, Aaron. So Aaron will be taking you through some of the tools and calculators that we have available to help assist you in making decisions about your super. So thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Christine. Well, often when I'm talking to people about investment choice, I'm asked the question, what is the best way to invest my super? And as you can probably imagine, there isn't one single investment option or profile that would be a fit for everyone. In fact, there are a number of different things to consider when choosing the right risk profile for you. So what is a risk profile, you may ask? A risk profile is an individual measure of how you feel about risk and return, keeping in mind that there is always a trade-off between these two. It takes into account your tolerance to market falls, as well as your investment time frame and desired return outcomes. In a perfect world, we would all love high returns without any falls. However, generally speaking, the more risk you take, the better your return should expect the better the return you should expect over time. However, the greater the chance of a bigger swing in your investment value. For example, an aggressive investment is expected to generate a higher rate of return over the long term. However, it is likely to fluctuate more during times of market volatility. What this means is that your investments may generate higher returns over time. However, it will generally lose more when the market dips and produce more frequent negative return years. A more conservative investment, on the other hand, is likely to have fewer negative return years overall and may not drop as far as an aggressive investment during a downturn. However, the trade-off for less downside risk is that the returns are expected to be lower over the long term. Understanding your risk profile and your investments risk is important to help better prepare for market movements and make informed decisions. The risk of being invested outside your risk profile is, if you're invested too conservatively, you may be missing out on potential returns you could have. If you're investing too aggressively, you may see greater falls during market instability than you are comfortable with. Both of these scenarios do not result in an optimal outcome, so it is important that you know where you sit. So as a starting point, you can find the Investment Risk Profiler on the Brighter Super website under the Resources tab. There are 8 questions that ask how you feel about negative returns, what action you may take given market instability, and what your superannuation goals are. After answering each question, it will then provide you with your result and some information about the type of investor you are based on your responses. When answering the questions, I would just encourage you to consider the bigger picture, because when someone asks us how we feel about a negative return, we're all the same. None of us like to see a negative return. This, though, is where understanding and knowing your investment timeframe becomes relevant. For example, if you are in your 40s and you are still at least 20 years away from being able to access your super, a negative return may feel very different from someone in their 60s and thinking about retiring now or in the next year or two. However, it is important to note that even if you are close to retirement, your investment timeframe may be longer than you think. Retirement isn't necessarily a line in the sand where you're no longer invested in super. You may choose to keep your money in super or move into a pension account where it's still invested. This can help to fund your retirement over the next 20 to 30 years. Once you've completed the risk profiler questionnaire, you will be provided information around your profile to help make an investment choice. It is important to note it does not provide a recommendation on where to invest your superannuation. It is just information to help you make that choice. If you wish to receive some help on finding the best investment for you, you can book an appointment with one of our intra-fund advisors. The type of advice included in your fund membership and the initial conversation is usually done over the phone and takes about 20 to 40 minutes. The advisor will do the same kind of process with you, asking you a series of questions to determine your risk profile, but what can be helpful is that they will tailor it to you and answer any specific questions that you have about your scenario. Importantly, they will also make a recommendation as to where to invest your super based on the results of that risk profile, and will provide you with a statement of advice so that you have a written resource to refer to that explains about your risk profile and the investment mix that's been recommended, as well as any changes to the investment fees as a result of the advice. This is a great opportunity to move to our next poll question, which is, have you ever used our investment advice service before? And I'm not sure if the poll question is up on the screen. I can't see it. So we'll push on. So for those of you who may not know, we offer a range of personal advice options suited to an individual member's needs. If you're looking for specific information about making contributions or investment strategies, our intra-fund advice team can help, and this is at no additional cost as it is included in the cost of your administration fee with Brighter Super. We also offer a more comprehensive personal advice service, which we will discuss in a bit more detail later in the presentation. We also have a tool on the website that models your retirement and how you're tracking towards that retirement goal. As with all modeling tools, it is based on metrics that may change over time, so we cannot use this as a matter of fact. However, it does help to provide some estimate on how you are tracking and what may be achievable. Depending on what your level of assets are and how much you need to fund your desired retirement lifestyle, you may only need to invest your funds in investments with lower levels of risk. On the other hand, you may be the opposite and need to reevaluate your financial position, goals, or risk tolerance in order to meet your goals. For most people, we need to take on some risk to hit our long-term goals, and the retirement income calculator can give you some idea of that. There is an option to toggle between both your pre-retirement and post-retirement investment options, so you can play around with what kind of difference that could make to your retirement income. If you are getting close to retirement, particularly if you're already over the age of 60, it may be worth getting in touch with a financial advisor to discuss pre-retirement strategies that may assist you in meeting your retirement goals. We are able to tailor your investments to your own individual situation to ensure that you are taking the right steps in finding that balance between risk and return. There are two types of advice that may be beneficial to you. Scaled advice is personal financial advice about your retirement within Brighter Super. Fees will vary depending on the type and complexity of the personal advice you require, and you may be able to deduct a portion of your advice fees from your Brighter Super account. Topics include retirement, such as adequacy and commencing a Brighter Super account-based pension, TTR, and determining Centrelink entitlements. These appointments are delivered over the phone. Another type of advice is called comprehensive advice. This provides advice to members and non-members about superannuation and retirement strategies, both with Brighter Super and other super funds. Your advice can also include your spouse, who may hold their super with another fund. Advice can also be provided on external investments outside of super. This type of advice is usually most helpful when you've reached a milestone birthday like 60, 65, or age pension, or are starting to think seriously about retirement. For both scaled advice and comprehensive advice, there is an advice fee charged, which you may be able to deduct from your Brighter Super account, and I'll discuss this bit later on. For further information on our advice services and what may suit you, visit the advice tab on our website, and I'll now hand back to the lovely Christine.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that. So to achieve your goal for a comfortable retirement, there's some simple steps to take here. Think about what you're looking to achieve, and it all starts with a plan. So what are you looking to achieve and what is your goal? The purpose of superannuation is to give you income in retirement, and how will a TTR TTR help you get there and understand the tax considerations. If you're looking to set up a pension at or after 60, it's pretty simple in relation to tax on withdrawals. But what about salary sacrifice or estate planning considerations? This is where personal advice can be invaluable. And also, by accessing your super now, will you be better off or worse off in retirement? This depends on your personal circumstances and what your objectives are, and brings us up to step 4. Seek further help as needed. To ensure you're on track, contact us and book a super health check or arrange an appointment with one of our financial advisors like Aaron, for example. There are a number of services available to members. So what makes Brighter Super different to other superannuation funds? It's our commitment to personal service. We have a dedicated team of member account specialists here to support you. If you'd like to talk to one of our staff one-on-one for more general information about your superannuation, why not book in for a super health check? A super health check covers a variety of areas and includes reviewing your beneficiary nomination. If you'd like to book now, you can see there is a QR code on the screen. You'll also receive a link to book a super health check in the coming days, along with today's webinar recording. Our team services are all over Queensland with face-to-face services and also digital channels. So you can get some general guidance on a range of superannuation topics, no matter where you live or work. So we offer a range of personal advice options suited to individual members' needs. And if you're looking for specific information about making contributions or investment strategies, our intra-fund advice team can help. So book an over-the-phone meeting with a financial advisor at no additional cost. 2 of the most common questions members ask as they approach retirement are, how much super do I need to retire? And do I have enough super? A retirement health check with one of our financial advisors will help you answer these questions. We also offer both a scaled and comprehensive personal advice service. This service takes a complete view of your financial situation to tailor advice to suit your individual needs. It's a face-to-face meeting with one of our advice team in Brisbane and various regions over Queensland. Appointments may be arranged via digital channels also. The cost will depend on the complexity of the advice, and the cost may be deducted from your super account balance. It's never too early to start planning for retirement, so talk to us and find out how we can help you. So similar to today's TTR webinar, our seminar web page includes a range of upcoming webinar topics. So keep an eye on this page as we update it regularly. On the previous 2 slides, we discussed our range of advice services. These cover our super health checks and intra-fund advice, both of which are at no additional cost to our members, and to other types of advice such as retirement health checks, scaled and comprehensive advice. Our next poll question for you is, after today's webinar, are you planning to get advice? Wow, thank you so much for responding. There was 85% are looking at getting some sort of advice with us. So that's great to hear that. And that's what we're here to support you with that as well. So if you're working towards retirement and live in Brisbane, we invite you to our seminars. We are thrilled that retirement advocate David Koch, also known as Kochie, will be joining us at these events. So Supersize Your Super on the 15th of May is in Brisbane City. It's perfect for those 10 to 15 years, from retirement, and planning your brighter retirement on the 15th of May and 30th of July in North Brisbane and Ipswich is ideal for those planning to retire in the next 10 years. We will also be releasing some in-person dates in the coming months for Rockhampton, Townsville, Gold Coast, Toowoomba, Cairns, Sunshine Coast and Mackay. Plus, of course, more webinars. So if you're interested and would like to meet Koshi, or visit thebrightersuper.com.au or scan the QR code on your screen to our event page. I've covered a lot of ground today, so remember you can also visit the resources tab for calculators and forms and info sheets and more information of what we've discussed today. So we've tried to answer your questions throughout the webinar today, but I'll invite now Aaron and Greg to come on screen to ask any questions you couldn't get hold of in the Q&A chat. And during the brief Q&A, they'll be able to answer those questions for you. Thank you, Aaron and Greg.
Oh, great. Thanks, Chris. Really interesting presentation from yourself and Aaron. I particularly like your analysis around the benefits of the TTR because, as Chris alluded to, there's not just one option. Once you're eligible for a TTR, there's quite a few options and considerations around that. But before we start the Q&A, I just want to give another general advice warning. It's important to understand that similar to the webinar itself, the information examples we give in this Q&A session are general in nature and have been prepared without taking into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. Now, we've got time for a couple of questions that were submitted earlier, and there was a similar theme around these two questions, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to put Aaron on the spot to get his expert analysis. And the first question, Aaron, was, are there costs to transfer to a pension? And can you do a partial transfer to pension phase?
Yeah, thank you very much, Greg. So look, the super fund itself doesn't charge you anything to move your super to a transition to retirement account or a pension account. A fee is payable if you are to receive financial advice around that, however. So I hope that clears that up. And the second question is, can someone make a partial transfer into a TTR account? Generally speaking, yes, they can. If you have $1 million in accumulation phase and you only want to move 200,000 of that to TTR, then you can certainly do that. As long as you stay within the rules of the super fund and the caps, etc., you can certainly just roll a portion of it to TTR phase.
And there's one other question, a quick one, Aaron, before we go, is this theme came up about, is there limits on working hours once you're in a TTR? I think the question was mainly around, are you limited with your work if you're doing a TTR in terms of hours?
Well, no, because the TTR is just an age base that you can, once you hit the age, you can start a TTR account whilst you still are working. If your working situation changes, it could be worth engaging with an advisor because depending on what your work situation has changed to, you might be then able to access a retirement pension fund that has the associated benefits of not having a 10% per annum withdrawal limit, as well as the associated investment earnings being tax-free.
Oh, great. Thanks, Aaron. That's all we have time for in terms of the Q&A. I'll hand back to Chris to wrap things up. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks so much, Aaron and Greg. Really appreciate that. It's always good to get some questions, cover those before we move on. So thank you. And thanks again for taking the time to come along and attend our webinar. And one last question for our viewers there. So before we begin to close, overall, how satisfied were you with today's webinar? Thank you so much for taking the time today to answer those questions. And thank you very much for attending today's presentation. And we hope to speak with you soon. Good evening.